There's a principle of Arabic rhetoric that can be stated as كل استعارة تبعية قرينتها مكنية. Every derived metaphor is cued by a vehicleless metaphor. The goal of this video is to understand this principle and how to apply it using an ayah from the Quran as an example. First, let's take a step back and understand the concepts of حقيقة لغوية and مجاز لغوي. If an expression is used in its literal sense, this is called حقيقة لغوية, a lexically literal expression. This just means the expression itself is meant literally, not that the sentence is actually true. For example, when most Christians say Jesus is the Son of God, وَنَعُوذُ بِاللَّهِ, this is حقيقة لغوية because they mean each word literally, even though the statement is untrue and disbelief. Similarly, when we say زيد أسد, that's حقيقة لغوية because each word is meant literally, even if the sentence isn't literally true. If an expression is not meant in its literal sense, this is called مجاز لغوي. Two things exist in this case. First, there's a cue, قرينة, explicit or implicit, that shows that the literal meaning isn't intended. Second, there's a relationship, علاقة, connecting the literal meaning to the intended meaning. If the relationship is one of comparison, مشابهة, it's called استعارة, an implicit metaphor. If the relationship is anything else, it's called مجاز مرسل, or metonymy. The two essential parts of a tashbih, a simile or metaphor, are 1. The mushabbah, the tenor, the thing being compared, and 2. The mushabbah bihi, the vehicle, the thing being compared to. If both are present, it's a tashbih, a type of haqiqa lughawiyya. So Zaydun Asad is literally true at the word level, even if the sentence isn't literally true, because each word is meant literally. If one of the tenor or the vehicle is left out, it becomes an implicit metaphor or isti'ara. If the tenor is omitted, this is an استعارة تصريحية, a tenorless implicit metaphor. This can use either an essence, a jawhar, a noun with a complete meaning, or an accident, a عرض, which is a verb, a particle, or noun that needs something else to complete its meaning. Additionally, if it uses an essence, it's called asliya, or a primary metaphor. An example of this is رأيت بحرا يعلم الناس. I saw an ocean teaching people. The teacher, or tenor, is omitted, only the ocean, or the vehicle, is mentioned. If it uses an accident, it's called تبعية, or a derived metaphor. An example of this is فاض الخطيب حكمة. The preacher overflowed with wisdom. The overflowing, or vehicle, is mentioned. The copiousness, or tenor, is omitted. On the other hand, if the vehicle is omitted, this is called an استعارة مكنية, or vehicle-less implicit metaphor. An example of this is لا شاطئ لعلمه, his knowledge has no shore. Here, the knowledge is being compared to the sea, which is the vehicle, but the sea isn't explicitly mentioned. Only an aspect of it, the shore, is mentioned. In metaphors, the shared quality is stronger in the vehicle, so some element of the vehicle needs to be mentioned even when it is omitted. Generally, a vehicle-less implicit metaphor, or استعارة مكنية, can only occur in an essence, i.e., it can only be an استعارة أصلية, or a primary metaphor. Why? Because if you use an implicit metaphor in an accident, i.e., if it's استعارة تبعية, that already adds some level of indirection. If you also omit the vehicle, which is where the attribute is strongest, that adds even more obscurity. Both together make the metaphor feel forced. There are a few contrived examples of an استعارة مكنية تبعية, or a vehicle-less derived metaphor, but these are only theoretical. They don't show up in real literature. Now consider the ayah. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم ولما سكت عن موسى الغضب. The word sakata, or fell silent, is used figuratively here to mean the termination of anger. This is a derived metaphor, استعارة تبعية, because the figurative language is found in a verb. It is also an استعارة تصريحية, or tenorless implicit metaphor, since the omitted tenor, the ending of anger, is compared to the act of falling silent, the vehicle. The relationship علاقة is one of similarity, making this an implicit metaphor or استعارة. The cue or قرينة that signals this figurative meaning is the word الغضب, since anger cannot literally fall silent. Now, applying the principle كل استعارة تبعية يصح أن يكون في قرينتها استعارة مكنية, every derived metaphor may also be interpreted as a vehicleless metaphor per its cue. An alternative reading is that al-ghadab or anger is the tenor, the mushabbah, being compared to a man, the omitted vehicle or the mushabbah bihi, since a man can actually fall silent. In this interpretation, the metaphor becomes vehicleless, or it's an isti'ara makniya. As with all vehicleless metaphors, the figurative expression is attached to an essential meaning, a noun, here anger or ghadab. Two things are worth noting. One, the possibility of both interpretations does not mean they are equal in rhetorical strength. Two, both cannot be intended at the same time. In this ayah, the phrase سكت عن موسى الغضب can be interpreted as either a derived tenorless metaphor, استعارة تصريحية تبعية, where the termination of anger is being compared to falling silent, or as a primary vehicleless metaphor, استعارة مكنية أصلية, where anger is likened to a man who falls silent. والله تعالى أعلم وأحكم وهو حسبنا ونعم الوكيل.